If you follow my work for any length of time, you know that I have strong feelings about one-size-fits-all processes. What we bring to the table as UX professionals isn't a fixed methodology. Rather, it's a toolkit of approaches: top task analysis, persona creation, customer journey mapping, diary studies, surveys, etc. And more importantly, years of experience of knowing which tools to pick up and when. Our value lies in that knowledge, in how we refine each tool to fit the way that we work. So, for example, the version of Top Task Analysis I run today may share a name with Jerry McGovern's original technique, but the similarities are mostly superficial at this point. I've customized it heavily over the years to suit my practice, my clients, and the way that I think. I'm telling you all of this because I watched a YouTube video recently about AI skills and found myself nodding along so hard that I nearly gave myself a headache. You can watch the YouTube video for yourself, and I'd generally recommend that you do because it goes into details I can only scratch the surface of here. But the core argument has real implications for anyone in the knowledge-based profession, and particularly those in UX. The term skill comes from Anthropic, the people behind Claude, and it describes a reusable prompt, a set of instructions you write once and use repeatedly. In practice, a skill is a page of instructions that tells AI exactly how to complete a specific task your way. This is different from a prompt library, and the distinction matters. A prompt library is a collection of useful things that you found yourself typing. Skills are more purposeful than that. They're designed to be precise, chainable, and refined over time. Eventually, they can be evoked automatically by AI agents without you even asking. Think of it this way. A prompt library is a folder of notes you've scribbled down and pinned on your desk. A skill library is a set of documented processes that you could hand to a junior colleague, or increasingly to AI, and trust that the output would meet your standards. I now have 50 skills covering recurring parts of my job, from writing survey questions to analyzing the results, to drafting UX audits and structuring top task reports, and quite a few more besides. And I've started to realize that this library is becoming one of my most professionally valuable things that I own. The video made 3 arguments of why skills are so important right now, and all 3 of those landed with me. The first is that writing skills forces you to surface hidden assumptions. When you ask AI to write a report, you have an intuitive sense of what you mean, what that includes, what format to use, and what good looks like. But AI doesn't have any of that sense. It guesses. Sometimes the guesses are fine. Plenty of the time they aren't. And you end up spending more time correcting the output than you would have if you just sat down and done it for yourself. The act of writing a skill forces you to make all those assumptions explicit. You have to think through what the process actually involves and what the output should look like and where things can go wrong. That process is genuinely valuable even before you've used the skill even once. The second reason is context management. There's a temptation to create one giant set of instructions that covers everything, loading every rule and consideration into a single prompt. The research suggests that backfires. The more parallel rules you ask AI to follow at once, the worse its performance across the board. Think of it like asking someone to juggle while simultaneously solving a crossword puzzle. Something's going to get dropped. Skills solve this by keeping instructions focused. You load the relevant skills when you need it rather than front-loading everything. The video I watched calls this progressive disclosure, a term we're all too familiar with as UX professionals. You give AI what it needs, when it needs it, rather than everything at once. And the third reason is that skills make output reliable and repeatable. And this one might sound modest, but it's the difference between AI as an occasional helper and AI as genuine part of how we work. Now, the video goes on to introduce a 5-level framework for how people build skills, and it's worth understanding because most people stall at level 2. Now, I'd really encourage you to watch the video for the full breakdown, but here's the shape of it. Level 1. This is where most people start, with no skills, just explaining what they need every time from scratch. Fine for one-off tasks, but you're not building anything there. Level 2 is probably the most dangerous. You download a skill from the internet or ask AI to write one for you with no real context and wonder why it doesn't do what you need. It won't, because a skill is entirely about the specific way that you do things. A template is just a starting point. Most people, unfortunately, hit level 2, get frustrated and give up. But if you move to level 3, things get interesting. This is where you write your skills yourself, manually, from your own experience. Better, but maybe still not complete, because there are things you know about a process that you never think to write down. Level 4 is where it gets really good. You co-create your skill with AI using a structured process that the video calls ACDC. You bring your domain knowledge, and AI asks questions to help you surface your assumptions that you didn't think of. And then finally, level 5 adds structural principles to make the skills themselves better engineered. But the honest message from the video is that the jump from 3 to 4 is going to get you 80% of the way there. Level 5 is an optional extra. So let's look at that ACDC framework. ACDC stands for Access, Collaborate, Draft, and Certify. And it's a practical mechanism for building a skill that genuinely works. Now, the video covers this in a lot more detail than I can here, but here's the rough process. You start by collecting everything you know about a particular task and how it gets done. Past examples of your work, any notes or standard operating procedures, anything you've written for other humans, anything you can find basically, and you add it to an AI conversation. Then crucially, you ask the AI to analyze what it's been given and ask you questions about anything that's unclear, missing, or inconsistent. That back and forth is where the real value is. AI is good at identifying gaps and asking you questions that make you realize you had assumptions that you never articulated. For example, you might say that the process works one way in one document and a different way in another, and the AI will surface those discrepancies. After enough rounds of conversation, your AI will produce the first draft of your skill. Then you review it, find what's off, and go through the loop again. The goal isn't to get it right first time. The goal is to turn the iteration into a feedback loop that gradually closes the gap between what you expect and what you get. The circular quality matters. The skill is never truly done, but it's rather a living document that improves as you use it and notice what needs adjusting. Now, in the short term, building a skill is slower than just doing the work. You create a process instead of an output. That investment phase can feel like a poor use of time, particularly when you're already stretched. But once the skill is in place, you start to see returns. Tasks take less time, require less mental overhead, and produce more consistent results. And the real leverage comes from skills chaining together. A skill for analyzing survey data connects to the skill for writing a client summary, which feeds a skill for generating recommended actions. Each one saves you time, but together they start to change how you produce things. As we're beginning to see agents become a thing, the potential of skills becomes even more evident. I give an agent a task, often a loosely defined one, and it goes away and selects the appropriate skills from my library, runs them in sequence, and returns the result. The quality of the results is much higher than you would expect from my poor prompt because of the quality of the skills it's using. You don't even need to tell it which skills to use. It'll figure that out. The true value of your skills library compounds over time in a way that my customized top task process becomes more valuable the more I refine it. The difference is the refinement loop of AI is much faster. To my mind, this is huge, and it's the thing that I'm most focused on in my own practice right now. I've been building out a library of skills for things I do repeatedly as a consultant, and I'm already seeing the difference. Not because AI is doing everything for me, but because having documented processes means AI can handle more of the groundwork, leaving me to focus on judgment calls that generally requires my experience. That's the version of AI iteration worth improving, not replacing your expertise, but building systems that let the expertise go further. And as an independent consultant, these skills have become a selling point to me. A client isn't just hiring me, they're hiring access to a set of refined processes that produce reliable, consistent output. But even if you're in-house, a professional skills library is the kind of thing that can set you apart. Organizations will have shared skills that everybody uses, but specialist roles will still need specialist skills, and those are going to be something that an individual brings to a job with them. The professionals building a library right now are those who are going to have a significant head start. I found that to be true in my own experience, and I expect it to be more true over the next few years. If this sounds like a lot of work up front, yes, it is. But the entry point is lower than you might think. Start by asking yourself each time you sit down to do something routine, could I teach an intern to do this through a documented set of steps? If the answer is yes, that task is a candidate to become a skill. Pick you one. Write down how you do it. Be as specific as you possibly can. Then use the ACDC approach to improve it. Share your notes with AIs, ask it to identify gaps, and ask you questions. Work through the first draft and then iterate. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for good enough to use and plan to refine it the next time you need it. If you're part of a team and want to start building out a skills library but aren't sure where to begin, I can help. Drop me an email to paul@boagworld.com and we can talk about how we can set up something similar in your organization. The time to start is before everybody else does, so I would encourage you to start now.